The hospital room was sterile white, its silence broken only by the soft hum of medical equipment. Two 7-year-old twin girls sat in their wheelchairs, facing a small birthday cake with flickering candles. No one sang. No one smiled. Their eyes glistened with unshed tears as they stared at the lonely flames. Then footsteps approached a janitor in his worn uniform pushing a cleaning cart, his 6-year-old son clutching his father's hand. The man paused, his weathered face softening. "Can we join you?" he asked gently. The twins looked up, startled. For the first time that day, hope flickered in their eyes. Brighter than the candles before them, Victoria Sterling was everything the world expected. A CEO to be brilliant, beautiful, and utterly untouchable. At 34, she commanded a healthcare empire worth billions, her golden hair always perfectly styled, her designer suits immaculate. But beneath the polished exterior lived a woman drowning in guilt. Every night, she relived the moment that destroyed her family, the screeching tires, the impact, her husband's final breath, and her daughter's screams. The accident had taken her husband and left both girls paralyzed from the waist down. She'd been in a board meeting, choosing work over driving them to their dance recital. Now, she could barely look at them without seeing her failure reflected in their innocent eyes. The twins, Emma and Lily, were mirror images with distinctly different souls. Emma, the elder by 3 minutes, masked her pain with forced cheerfulness, chattering endlessly about imaginary friends to fill the silence. She dreamed of running again, though she never spoke it aloud. Lily retreated into art, her sketchbooks filled with images of birds in flight, dancers mid-leap, everything she could no longer be. Both girls had inherited their mother's delicate features and their father's warm brown eyes, eyes that now held a sadness no child should know. Marcus Hayes stood 6'2", his military bearing still evident despite trading his uniform for a janitor's coveralls. At 35, he possessed the kind of rugged handsomeness that came from years of service, strong jaw, broad shoulders, hands that had once steadied rifles, now gentle enough to braid his son's hair. He'd been a decorated Marine until his wife Sarah died when a drunk driver ran a red light. The medals meant nothing after that. He'd walked away from everything, choosing minimum wage work at the hospital to ensure he'd never miss another moment with his son. Little Tommy Hayes was pure sunshine in human form. 6 years old with his father's dark hair and his mother's mischievous grin, he possessed an uncanny ability to find joy anywhere. He talked to everyone, patients, nurses, even the potted plants in the hallway. His father's gentle strength lived in him, manifested as fearless compassion. While other children might shy away from wheelchairs and medical equipment, Tommy saw only potential friends waiting to be discovered. Marcus had noticed the twins before during his evening rounds. They were always alone in the VIP suite, surrounded by expensive toys that remained untouched. Today was different. He'd overheard nurses mentioning it was their birthday. The sadness radiating from that room pulled at something deep within him. Tommy had tugged his sleeve, whispering, "Dad, they look lonely." That was all it took. "I'm Tommy," the boy announced, stepping forward without hesitation. "Is it really your birthday?" "Mine was last month, and Dad made me chocolate chip pancakes for breakfast. Do you like chocolate chips?" Emma's eyes widened. It had been months since anyone their age had spoken to them. I love chocolate chips," she whispered. "Me too," Lily added, her voice barely audible. Marcus knelt beside the wheelchairs, his presence somehow both imposing and comforting. "I'm Marcus. This enthusiastic fellow is my son. Would it be okay if we sang Happy Birthday? Can't have a proper birthday without the song." The girls exchanged glances, a lifetime of silent communication passing between them. Emma nodded first, then Lily. Marcus's deep baritone mixed with Tommy's enthusiastic off-key singing filled the room. For 3 minutes and 17 seconds, the sterile hospital room transformed into something magical. Victoria heard the singing from the hallway. She'd been rushing back from another emergency board meeting, her heels clicking against linoleum, phone pressed to her ear. The sound stopped her cold. Her daughters were laughing, actually laughing. She approached the doorway, ready to demand answers, to protect her children from strangers. But the scene before her stole her words. A janitor and his son sat cross-legged on the floor, her daughters leaning forward in their chairs. All four of them covered in cake frosting. Tommy was demonstrating how to make frosting mustaches, while Marcus pretended to be horrified at the mess. Emma was giggling uncontrollably, while Lily quiet. Withdrawn, Lily was actually speaking, telling Tommy about her favorite colors. Victoria's hand flew to her chest. When had she last heard them laugh? When had she last sat on the floor with them, not caring about appearances or propriety? She stood frozen in the doorway, watching this stranger give her daughters what she couldn't: simple, uncomplicated presents. "Your mom's here," Marcus said softly, noticing her. He began to rise, apology already forming on his lips. But she held up a hand. "Please," she said, her voice catching. "Don't stop." Their eyes met across the room. Wealth and simplicity, power and humility. Two broken souls recognizing something in each other. Marcus saw past the designer suit to the exhausted mother beneath. Victoria saw past the janitor's uniform to the grieving widower within. The moment stretched, loaded with possibility. Days turned into weeks, and Marcus and Tommy's visits became the highlight of the twins' hospital stays. They came every evening after Marcus's shift ended, Tommy's backpack bulging with games, puzzles, and art supplies. The routine developed naturally. Tommy would burst through the door with his daily joke. Marcus would check on the girls' comfort, adjusting pillows and wheelchairs with practiced ease. Then they'd dive into whatever adventure Tommy had planned. "Today, we're pirates," Tommy announced one evening, producing eye patches made from construction paper. "Emma, you're the captain. Lily, you're the artist who draws our treasure maps. Dad's the ship's cook." "What are you?" Emma asked, already placing the patch over her eye. "I'm the parrot," Tommy squawked, flapping his arms. "Polly wants a cracker. And cake. And ice cream." Marcus helped the girls with their physical therapy exercises, turning mundane stretches into games. "Okay. We're reaching for stars," he'd say, guiding their arms upward. "Emma, you've got the North Star. Lily, you're reaching for Mars." His military training had taught him discipline, but fatherhood had taught him patience. He noticed things Victoria's expensive therapists missed: how Emma pushed too hard, risking injury in her determination; how Lily gave up too quickly, afraid of hoping. Victoria began timing her returns to coincide with their visits. She'd stand outside, laptop in hand, pretending to work while watching through the doorway. Her assistant Catherine noticed the change immediately. "You're smiling," Catherine observed one evening. "Am I?" Victoria touched her face, surprised. "It's nice. You should do it more often." Victoria watched Marcus help Emma with a particularly difficult stretch, his massive hands impossibly gentle. "Did you know she hates that exercise? She screams when the physical therapist does it." "Maybe it's not about the exercise," Catherine suggested carefully. "Maybe it's about who's helping." Tommy had started calling the twins his sisters, announcing to anyone who'd listen that he had two sisters who are superheroes in wheelchairs. The girls bloomed under his innocent acceptance. Emma began telling real stories instead of fantasy ones. Lily started sharing her drawings, even creating a comic book series titled The Adventures of Captain Tommy and the Wheeling Wonders. One evening, a storm knocked out the hospital's main power grid. The backup generators kept essential equipment running, but the rooms were dim, shadows dancing on walls. The twins panicked. They'd been terrified of the dark since the accident. Victoria was in a board meeting across the city. Unreachable. The nurses were overwhelmed with other emergencies. Marcus heard their cries from 3 floors down. He and Tommy ran up the stairs, Marcus taking 3 at a time. He found them huddled together, Emma trying to comfort a sobbing Lily. Hey, it's okay," Marcus soothed, gathering both girls in his arms, their wheelchairs pushed aside. "Tommy, grab the flashlight from my cart." They spent the next 2 hours telling stories by flashlight, Tommy doing shadow puppets on the wall, while Marcus created elaborate tales of brave princesses who conquered their fears. When Victoria finally arrived, frantic with worry, she found all 4 asleep, Marcus in the chair between the 2 beds, a twin's hand in each of his. Tommy curled on his father's lap. She stood there, rain-soaked and shaking, watching this man who'd given her daughters peace when she couldn't. Her fingers traced the doorframe, and she made a decision that would change everything. The past haunted both adults like shadows that grew longer with each passing day. Victoria's memories were sharp-edged, cutting her whenever she let her guard down. The board meeting that day had been critical, a merger that would expand their reach into pediatric care. She'd promised to drive the girls to their dance recital, their first performance since starting ballet. "Mommy has to work, sweethearts. Daddy will take you." Those were the last words she'd said to them before their lives shattered. James had been the perfect husband, patient with her ambition, devoted to their daughters. He'd taken the suburban route to avoid traffic, the same route they'd driven hundreds of times. The police said the truck driver had fallen asleep at the wheel, crushing their Volvo against the highway barrier. James died instantly, his body shielding the girls from the worst of the impact. But the damage to their spines was irreversible. Victoria had been presenting quarterly projections when the call came. She'd run from the boardroom in her Louboutins, leaving everything behind. By the time she reached the hospital, James was gone, and her daughters were in surgery. The last thing he'd said, according to witnesses, was, "Tell Victoria I forgive her." Forgiveness. The word tortured her. How could he forgive what she couldn't forgive herself? She'd chosen money over moments, presentations over performances. Now she had all the money in the world, and no one to share it with. The girls survived, but the mother they'd known died in that boardroom. In her place stood a stranger who provided everything but herself. Marcus's story was different but equally devastating. Sarah had been his high school sweetheart, the one who'd waited through 3 deployments, who'd kissed his scars and held him through nightmares. She'd been driving home from her night shift as a nurse. Ironic, really, that she'd spent her life saving others but couldn't save herself. The teenager who hit her had been drinking since noon, celebrating his 18th birthday. His father was a senator. He got 2 years probation. Marcus had been teaching combat tactics at Quantico when the call came. He'd driven through 3 states without stopping, but she was already gone. Tommy had been at daycare, too young to understand why Mommy wasn't coming back. The rage that filled Marcus could have destroyed him. He'd been trained to kill, knew 17 ways to end a life with his bare hands. For one dark moment, standing over Sarah's body, he'd considered it. But then Tommy had wrapped his tiny arms around Marcus's leg and said, "Don't be sad, Daddy. Mommy's with the angels now." That innocent faith had saved him. He'd walked away from everything, the military, the rage, the need for vengeance. He'd chosen love over hate, minimum wage over military honors, presence over prosperity. "I dream about her sometimes," Marcus admitted one evening. He and Victoria sat in the hospital cafeteria, while the children played upstairs under Catherine's supervision. "Sarah, she's always laughing, telling me I'm doing it wrong. James forgave me," Victoria said suddenly, the words escaping before she could stop them. "His last words were forgiving me for not being there. I hate him for it sometimes. It would be easier if he'd blamed me." "Blame's easier than guilt," Marcus agreed. "Anger's easier than acceptance. But easier isn't better. How do you do it? How do you smile? And laugh? And live?" Marcus studied his coffee, choosing his words carefully. "Tommy needs me whole, not broken. Every day I choose to be the father he deserves, even when I don't feel like it, especially when I don't feel like it. Your girls need the same from you. I don't know how to be what they need. I'm not warm like you. I'm not good. You're here, aren't you? Every evening, watching from that doorway. You think they don't know, but they do. Emma always sits straighter when you're there." Lily draws more carefully. Victoria's eyes filled with tears she refused to shed. "I destroyed our family." "No," Marcus said firmly. "A accident destroyed your family. You're just the only one left to blame. Sarah died because a drunk kid made a choice. Your husband died because a tired driver made a mistake. We don't get to control other people's choices. We only get to control how we respond." Their hands met across the table, his calloused fingers covering her manicured ones. It wasn't romantic, not yet, just 2 broken people holding each other up. "The girls called me Dad during the storm," Marcus admitted quietly. "It felt right," Victoria finished. "Yeah. Is that okay?" Victoria squeezed his hand. "They haven't been that peaceful in months. If you can give them that, Call yourself whatever they need. The board meeting was scheduled for a Thursday afternoon, 3 months after Marcus and Tommy first entered their lives. Victoria walked in, expecting routine quarterly reports. Instead, she faced a coup. Your behavior has become a liability, Board Chairman Harrison Blackwood announced without preamble. He was old money, Yale-educated, with connections reaching into every major hospital on the East Coast, fraternizing with custodial staff, allowing your children to associate with inappropriate companions. It's unbecoming of someone in your position. Victoria's spine straightened. My personal life has no bearing on my professional performance, doesn't it? Harrison produced a tablet, swiping through photos that made Victoria's blood run cold. Pictures of Marcus helping her daughters, of Tommy hugging the twins, of her watching from the doorway with an unguarded expression of longing. These were taken by concerned staff members. You're the face of this company, Victoria. Your choices reflect on all of us. My choices are my own, not when they affect stock prices. Harrison pulled up a graph showing a minor dip in shares. Words getting out. The CEO of Sterling Healthcare, slumming with a janitor. What's next? Food stamps? Public school? That's enough, Victoria said. But her voice lacked its usual authority. We're prepared to offer a solution, Harrison continued smoothly. End this association. We'll provide a generous bonus for the janitor's relocation, say $50,000, enough to start fresh elsewhere. Your daughters need stability, Victoria, not fantasy. You want me to buy him off? We want you to remember who you are, what you've built, what you could lose. The threat hung unspoken, but clear. Victoria left the meeting numb. She found Marcus in the children's room, helping with homework. Tommy was teaching the twins multiplication, using candy pieces, making Marcus pretend to steal them so the girls could practice catching the candy thief. Marcus, she said quietly. We need to talk. They stood in the hallway, fluorescent lights harsh overhead. She explained the board's ultimatum, watching his face close off, the warmth dying in his eyes. I understand, he said simply. No, you don't. I do. His voice was steady, resigned. I've always known this had an expiration date. You're you, and I'm me. Oil and water. That's not. It's okay, Victoria. I'll explain to Tommy. We'll stop coming around. The girls will adjust. Kids always do. The lie tasted bitter on his tongue. Tommy didn't understand. But why, Dad? Did we do something wrong? I promise I'll share my toys better. I won't make messes. Please, Dad. They're my sisters now. Marcus held his sobbing son, his own eyes burning. Sometimes, buddy, things just don't work out. Upstairs, the twins were inconsolable. Emma threw things, screaming that she hated everyone. Lily stopped speaking entirely, retreating so far into herself that doctors grew concerned. Victoria sat in her office, staring at the resignation letter she drafted and deleted 17 times. Harrison's assistant leaked the photos to a gossip blog, adding salacious headlines about the CEO's secret janitor lover and riches to Rag's romance. The story went viral overnight. Investors called emergency meetings. The board demanded immediate action, but something else happened too. Nurses who'd watched Marcus with the twins started speaking up. Parents of other sick children shared stories of how Tommy's innocent joy had brightened their darkest days. A social media campaign began number Love Not Labels featuring pictures of the children together, their happiness undeniable. Victoria was reviewing the PR disaster when Catherine burst in. You need to see this. She pulled up financial records, transaction histories that made no sense until suddenly they did. Harrison had been shorting company stock, betting against Sterling Healthcare while serving as board chairman. Every scandal, every leaked photo, every controversy, he'd profited from them all. He's been planning this for months, Catherine explained, destabilizing the company to trigger a hostile takeover. He has buyers lined up, planning to gut the pediatric ward and convert it to elective surgeries. More profit, less overhead. Victoria's blood turned to ice. The pediatric ward was James's legacy, funded by his life insurance. It provided free care to families who couldn't afford treatment. It was the only good thing to come from their tragedy. "Get me legal," Victoria commanded, her CEO persona slamming back into place. "And find Marcus. Now." But Marcus was already at the hospital, though not for the reason she expected. The fire started in the electrical room at 7:43 p.m., according to the official report. A combination of old wiring and the recent storm damage created the perfect disaster. The flames spread through the ventilation system, reaching the pediatric ward within minutes. Alarms screamed as smoke filled hallways. Victoria was in her car, racing to find Marcus, when the call came. "The twins' room, we can't reach them. The automated doors have locked, trapping them inside." She abandoned her Mercedes in the middle of traffic, running 8 blocks in heels, her lungs burning. She reached the hospital to find chaos, fire trucks, ambulances, crowds of evacuated patients. Security held her back as she fought to get inside. "My daughters are in there." Marcus had been cleaning the lobby when the alarms went off. Hospital protocol demanded immediate evacuation, but his mind went straight to the twins. Tommy was safe at home with their neighbor, but Emma and Lily were alone up there. He knew Victoria was at another board meeting. He knew the nurses would prioritize ambulatory patients first. He didn't hesitate. Taking the stairs 3 at a time, Marcus covered his face with his wet uniform shirt. The smoke grew thicker with each floor, but his military training kicked in: stay low, follow walls, count doors. He'd memorized the route to their room weeks ago, could walk it blindfolded. The VIP ward was a maze of smoke and screaming alarms. The electronic locks had engaged, the safety protocol backfiring catastrophically. Marcus found a fire extinguisher, using it to smash the reinforced glass door. His hands bled, but adrenaline numbed the pain. The twins were huddled together, Lily unconscious from smoke inhalation. Emma, barely conscious, dragging herself toward the door. "I knew you'd come," Emma whispered. "Dad always comes." The word hit him like a physical blow. He scooped up both girls, their wheelchairs abandoned. Muscle memory from carrying wounded Marines taking over. The journey back was hell smoke so thick he navigated by touch, Emma coughing against his neck. Lily terrifyingly still. The stairwell door had locked behind him. The smoke was rising. They were trapped. Marcus set the girls down gently, using his body to shield them. He ripped the emergency phone from the wall, praying it still worked. "This is Marcus Hayes. I have 2 children in stairwell C, 4th floor. We need immediate extraction. Sir, you need to evacuate. I have Victoria Sterling's daughters. They're in wheelchairs. They can't walk. Please." The line went dead. Marcus gathered the girls again, preparing to break down the door with brute force when he heard it axes on metal, firefighters breaking through. They emerged into chaos, Marcus refusing to let go even as paramedics swarmed them. Victoria saw them come out, Marcus's massive frame cradling both girls, his face black with soot, hands leaving bloody prints on their nightgowns. She ran to them as paramedics loaded the twins into ambulances. "They called me Dad," Marcus said, his voice broken. "When I found them, they called me Dad." Victoria kissed him then, in front of everyone, the cameras, the board members, the entire world. It tasted of smoke and tears and promise. "You are their dad," she said fiercely. "You're the father they deserve." The aftermath moved quickly. Harrison's crimes were exposed when investigators found evidence on his computer, which survived the fire. He'd paid off the building inspector to overlook the electrical issues, gambling that any incident would further destabilize Victoria's position. He hadn't counted on a janitor's courage or a mother's fury. The trial was swift. Harrison got 15 years for corporate fraud, insider trading, and reckless endangerment. His assets were seized, mysteriously funding a complete renovation of the pediatric ward's electrical system. Victoria called her own emergency board meeting the day the twins were released from intensive care. She walked in pushing Lily's wheelchair while Marcus pushed Emma's, Tommy riding on his father's shoulders. The remaining board members shifted uncomfortably. "I'm restructuring," Victoria announced without preamble. "Effective immediately, Sterling Healthcare will focus on accessible pediatric care. We're cutting executive bonuses by 60%, redirecting those funds to families who can't afford treatment. Any board member who disagrees is welcome to resign. You can't. One member started. I own 51% of shares, Victoria reminded them. I can do whatever I want. And what I want is a company my daughters can be proud of. A company their fathers would have built. She used the plural deliberately, her hand finding Marcus's. The room erupted in protests, but Victoria didn't care. She'd spent years building an empire on ambition and ice. Now, she would rebuild it on love and fire. Marcus enrolled in night school, studying healthcare administration. Can't have the CEO dating a janitor forever. He'd joke, but Victoria would silence him with kisses. I fell in love with the janitor, she'd remind him. Everything else is just details. They moved slowly, carefully, aware of the children watching. Marcus kept his apartment for 6 months, though he spent most nights on Victoria's couch. There, when nightmares woke. The girls. Tommy officially moved in first. His dinosaur backpack, taking residence next to the twins' ballet bags, which they kept despite no longer dancing. The girls had good days and bad days. Physical therapy was grueling, teaching them to navigate a world not built for wheelchairs. But they faced it together, Emma's determination balancing Lily's caution, both drawing strength from Tommy's unwavering belief that his sisters were superheroes. Superheroes don't always fly, he'd say seriously. Sometimes they roll. It's actually faster, more aerodynamic. Marcus taught them to see their chairs as tools, not prisons. He built ramps for the house, widened doorways, installed grab bars painted in glitter paint, because Lily said medical equipment should sparkle. He never treated them as fragile. Adapting his marine training into wheelchair races and adaptive sports, Victoria learned to be present. She scheduled board meetings around school plays, worked from the therapy center, conducted conference calls from the playground. Her phone still rang constantly, but she'd learned which calls could wait. All of them, it turned out, could wait when her children needed her. The wedding was small, held in the hospital chapel where they'd first found their family. Tommy was the ring bearer, insisting on wearing a cape with his suit. The twins were flower girls, their wheelchairs decorated with so many flowers they looked like parade floats. Catherine stood as Victoria's witness, while Marcus's marine buddy, who'd flown in from California, stood as his. Do you, Victoria Sterling, take this janitor to be your husband? The chaplain asked, eyes twinkling. Former janitor, Marcus corrected. I'm in management now, still cleaning up messes, Victoria said, making everyone laugh. They'd written their own vows. Marcus went first, his voice steady, despite the tears on his face. Victoria, you and your daughters gave Tommy and me a reason to hope again. You saw past the uniform to the man underneath. You trusted me with your most precious treasures. I promise to love your girls as my own, to be the father they deserve, and to love you with the fierce protectiveness of a Marine and the gentle patience of a man who knows how lucky he is. Victoria's vows broke tradition, addressing all 4 of them. Marcus, Tommy, Emma, and Lily, you 4 saved me. I was drowning in guilt and isolation, and you threw me lifelines of laughter, acceptance, and unconditional love. I promise to choose presence over profit, moments over meetings, and family over everything. We may not have started as a traditional family, but we're choosing to become one now. Tommy interrupted the kiss to announce. Finally. Now, can we have cake? 1 year later, the twins' 8th birthday arrived with fanfare instead of solitude. The house, their house now, with its accessible design and walls covered in Lily's art and Emma's achievement certificates, bustled with preparation. Tommy, now 7, had appointed himself party coordinator, wearing a clipboard and whistle he'd found in Marcus's military trunk. Balloons need to be higher, he commanded, making Marcus laugh as he lifted his son to tape streamers to the ceiling. Sir, yes sir. Marcus saluted, earning a giggle. Victoria emerged from the kitchen, flour in her hair, frosting on her designer apron. She'd insisted on making the cake herself, 3 tiers of chocolate chaos that leaned slightly left but radiated love. It's perfect, Lily said, wheeling over to inspect it. She'd started speaking more in recent months, her voice growing stronger with each passing day. "It looks like the Leaning Tower of Pisa," Emma observed, then quickly added, "But the delicious kind." The party was intentionally small, just family and a few close friends. No photographers, no media, no board members checking their phones. Catherine arrived with her partner and their new baby. Marcus's Marine buddy brought his family. The nurses who'd cared for the twins stopped by with handmade cards from other children in the ward. As the sun set, they gathered around the cake. 8 candles flickered, one for each year of the twins' lives, but also symbolizing new beginnings. The singing started naturally, no longer confined to just "Happy Birthday." Tommy had written his own version, "Happy birthday to my sisters, who are cooler than any misters. They're the best in the whole world. Happy birthday to you. Make a wish," Victoria urged, her arms around both girls' shoulders. Emma and Lily looked at each other, then at their family, their real, chosen, perfect family. They closed their eyes, synchronized as always, and blew out the candles together. "What did you wish for?" Tommy asked eagerly. "If we tell, it won't come true," Emma said mysteriously, but Lily smiled, breaking their twin code just this once. "We wish that everything could stay exactly like this, forever." Marcus lifted Tommy onto his shoulders, while Victoria knelt between the wheelchairs, pulling her daughters close. Catherine snapped a photo not for publicity or proof, but simply to capture the moment when 5 broken pieces became whole. "You know what the best part is?" Tommy announced from his perch. "Now I have 2 sisters, and nobody at school believes me when I tell them they're both superheroes who can draw anything and know everything, and have the coolest wheelchairs that I helped decorate with racing stripes." "The racing stripes were an excellent touch," Marcus agreed solemnly. "Dad helped too," Emma said, the word flowing naturally now. "He said every chariot needs proper decoration." "Your dad's a smart man," Victoria said, catching Marcus's eye over the children's heads. "The smartest," Lily agreed. "He married Mom, didn't he?" As laughter filled the room, Victoria thought about the journey that had brought them here. The pristine hospital room where 2 lonely girls had sat before an untouched cake seemed like another lifetime. The woman she'd been isolated in her tower of success felt like a stranger. The man Marcus had been drowning in grief had transformed into the anchor their family needed. "Tell the story again," Tommy requested. "The one about how we became a family." "Which version?" Marcus asked, settling into his favorite armchair. "The one where I'm a knight rescuing princesses from a tower." "No." All 3 children chorused. "The real one," Emma insisted. "The one where you were just cleaning, and we were just sad, and Tommy was just talking to everyone like always. And Mom was just watching from the door thinking nobody noticed," Lily added with a grin. "I was subtle," Victoria protested. "You were wearing $3,000 heels that clicked on linoleum, Mom," Emma pointed out. "We could hear you from the elevator." "Tell them about the first words," Tommy urged. "The very first words." Marcus's voice softened with memory. "Can we join you?" "4 words," Victoria murmured, pulling Tommy from Marcus's shoulders into her lap. 4 words that changed everything. "Because family," Lily said quietly, reaching for Emma's hand, "isn't about blood or money or perfect lives. It's about choosing," Emma continued, squeezing back. "Choosing to show up when it's hard. Choosing to stay when it's scary," Tommy added, wise beyond his 7 years. "Choosing to love when you're broken," Marcus said, his hand finding Victoria's, "and choosing each other." Victoria finished. Every single day. Outside, snow began to fall. Unusual for the season, but perfect for the moment. The children pressed against the windows, watching the flakes dance in the streetlight's glow. Emma and Lily's wheelchairs had been upgraded, recently custom designs with Tommy's input, featuring flames for Emma and butterflies for Lily. They rolled smoothly across the hardwood floors Marcus had installed himself, each plank laid with thoughts of his daughter's independence. "Can we go out?" Lily asked hopefully. "In the snow?" Victoria's old self would have worried about cold, about wet wheels, about 1,000 dangers. "Please, Mom?" Emma's eyes sparkled with mischief. "We could have a snowball fight." "Unfair advantage," Marcus declared. "They have seated positions for better aim." "We'll go easy on you, old man." Emma shot back, making everyone laugh at Marcus's mock outrage. They bundled up Victoria in designer boots that would be ruined, Marcus in his worn military jacket, the children in mismatched winter gear that spoke of a home where perfection mattered less than participation. Tommy pushed Lily's chair, while Marcus handled Emma's, Victoria carrying blankets and hot chocolate supplies. The yard transformed into a battlefield of joy. Snowballs flew with strategic precision, Marcus teaching angles and trajectory, Victoria abandoning dignity to dive behind snow fortifications, the children shrieking with delight. A neighbor, watching from their window, saw not tragedy or inspiration, but simply a family playing in the snow. Later, as they warmed by the fireplace, Tommy fell asleep against Emma's chair, while Lily dozed on Marcus's shoulder. Victoria sat on the floor, her head against Marcus's knee, watching the fire paint golden shadows on her children's faces. "I love you," she said suddenly, the words encompassing all of them. "We know," Emma said sleepily. "You quit 3 board meetings, learned to bake, and let us ruin your boots. That's definitely love." "The boots were hideous anyway," Victoria admitted, making Marcus chuckle. "I have something for you," he said suddenly, producing a small wrapped package. "For all of you, actually." Inside were 5 compass pendants, each engraved with coordinates. "What do they mean?" Lily asked, studying the numbers. "They're the coordinates of the hospital room where we met," Marcus explained. "So no matter where life takes us, we can always find our way back to that moment. The moment we became us," Tommy mumbled, still half asleep. Victoria held her pendant to the firelight, watching it gleam. Once, she'd measured success in stock prices and board positions. Now, she measured it in sounds: Tommy's laughter, the twins' whispered secrets, Marcus's off-key humming while he cooked. She measured it in moments: homework sessions that dissolved into tickle fights, family meetings where everyone got equal votes, quiet evenings when words weren't necessary. "Hey, Mom," Emma said suddenly. "I'm glad the elevator was broken that day." "What?" Victoria asked, confused. "The elevator was broken that day, remember? That's why Dad had to take the stairs with his cleaning cart. That's why he walked past our room. That's why Tommy saw us." Victoria hadn't known that detail. She looked at Marcus, who shrugged with a smile. "Best malfunction ever," he said simply. As the fire died to embers and the snow continued to fall, the Sterling Hayes family settled into sleep where they sat, a tangle of wheels and limbs and hearts that had chosen each other. The birthday cake, now demolished, sat on the coffee table, 5 forks abandoned on the platter, evidence of a family that shared everything, even dessert. In the morning, there would be challenges. The twins would face another surgery soon, attempting to restore partial sensation. Marcus would defend his thesis for his healthcare administration degree. Victoria would battle for more reforms against resistant board members. Tommy would start 2nd grade, navigating questions about his unique family structure. But tonight, in this moment, they were complete. Not perfect. Perfect was magazine covers and Christmas cards they'd never send. They were something better. They were real. They were chosen. They were home. "Can we join you?" had been the question that started it all. The answer, unspoken, but lived every day since, was simple. You already have. You always will. We are joined, we are family, we are one. And in a house full of laughter, where wheelchairs were chariots and cleaning carts could carry princes, where CEOs learned to bake and Marines learned to cry, where 3 children with 2 different mothers and 2 different fathers somehow shared the same heart, love wasn't just possible. It was inevitable. It was theirs. It was forever.